This is episode 244 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Jessie Lang. Jessie is the founder of Unlocked Rentals. She started investing 10 years ago the wrong way, she says, but has changed her ways and gone from 11 to 70 doors or more. And she focuses on the BRRRR method, which we're going to talk about a lot. Jessie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jonathan.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to talk to you. And I like the journeys that start. I feel like I was reading something about you, and I feel like you could have a book that would say it all started with a condo. That would be such like a real estate investor thing, because that's how you started, right? It was just a condo.
A single condo that I bought as an owner occupant that I had no idea would take me down the journey that I've been on the past 10 years.
Yeah. So you were just buying something for yourself to get started as a first time owner.
Yep. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and everyone knows what happened to the real estate market there.
Yeah.
And I was, I went to college in Austin, I went to UT, and just kind of graduated. And like the logical next step, you go to college, you get a big girl job, you get married, you buy a house, you have kids, you do all these things. But I definitely didn't do all of them, but I was smart enough to buy that condo, and it was $92,000. My 3% down was my life savings.
Yeah.
And it led to my first panic attack. During that process, it was like very stressful. Your first house was very stressful, but got through it, and it ended up being probably one of the best financial decisions I've made.
You get settled in Ohio. You still don't consider yourself an investor, still back on the grind with a regular job. When did you start investing, either in Columbus or from Columbus?
So throughout the 18 months that I was working at this W-2, I was going to tons of meetups. I was going to my RIAs. I was meeting all these investors. And I think a really big, like, pivotal moment for me was that I realized that real estate investors are normal people. That you could be walking down the street, and it's not someone in a flashy Lamborghini. It's not some, rich guy smoking cigars and like being mean to everyone, And I like had this terrible vision because, again, I wasn't an investor in my mind.
Right.
So it's like, if you're an investor, you have to be this, that, and the other. And so these meetups introduced me to people who were completely normal people. And they didn't, they weren't going for $100 million portfolio. They had very modest goals to take care of themselves and their families. And I was like, that is achievable. Like, I can actually see myself doing this. And so it took that 18 months to kind of come to that realization, and then also gather the courage to go full time. And so, of course, I started wholesaling like many, many do. And I made zero money.
You're still going to meetups though. Wait, before we get into wholesaling, I just want, I mean, you basically created an advertisement for meetups, which I've been saying is part of the Core 3 Books podcast meetups. But I said exactly what you said, and I have been for years because I've been running meetups since 2020 and did a bunch of them before. The only way to get that confidence is to just see someone who's just like you, who, like you said, I always make this joke, like there's someone in the corner at a meetup, in like Tevas and a ripped shirt. And you're like, hey, can you bust the table? And they're like, that's, Bobby, they have 13 multis and a commercial building. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
You didn't dress up for this. You're dressed up. Your first meetup probably got dressed up, and you're like, what? Why does everybody look like they just showed up, from a property? Because they did.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And they, some of the real big guys will pull up in their truck filled with building materials that they just like had on site. And it's like, are you the crew or are you the owner?
Yeah.
So that was so important for me to see, to realize that you can be a regular person and also do well in real estate. And so this one in particular, we bought it. We went to give notice to the resident. They were on month to month. And this woman came in just beside herself. I mean, she was just torn apart that she was going to have to leave the home that she had been in for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, that's not the business I'm in. I'm not in like trying to displace someone. And I ran the numbers. I'm like, okay, well, what would this appraise for as is? She ended up coming up like $200 a month on rent. It appraised for enough as is to still BRRRR out of it. And that was like through probably 2 or 3 years ago now. And she's still living there.
That's awesome.
Die there. And so I have that's, you can like be so creative, which is what I love. But you have to buy right. That's
yeah. Again, it goes back to pushover versus good human. There's somewhere in between, but yeah, I think that I learned that over the years with my dad and landlording that, part of being a landlord gives you a great opportunity to help people. You don't want to take the first person that comes in, but sometimes people have a lower credit than you would like, but they have a real story that you can verify. And it's like, I mean, they're not going to be able to find anything, or they have 2 big dogs and you're like, okay, I want to be the person who, lets them get a place because everybody else is saying no pit bulls, which happens in a lot of places. As you're super pet friendly in life, but yeah, do you take pets in all of your rentals? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're pet friendly everywhere. And part of the reason is, well, I believe no one should have to choose between their pet and their housing.
Of course, yeah.
Cruel and unusual punishment. So that's not a position I ever want to put someone in. At the same time, there is a benefit that, we typically, majority single family, and I will go out of my way to completely fence a yard. And when someone finds a place that their dogs are welcome, that they have a fenced yard, they stay for years.
Yeah, and they also pay more and they're aggressive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and they want the place. Like, they're like, this is perfect. What do I have to do to get it and to stay? Like, they stay. That's my thing. So I'm pet friendly because of retention, like, truly.
Yeah, and haven't you found that, I mean, hopefully people know this, but when you have people with pets, they never even blink at a pet fee. They honestly don't care what it is. It's like, I just want this place. I have so few options that will work for whatever pet makeup I have. How many fenced yard rentals are there? Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah. So like, you're going to lay it down for that. And of course it still can be a win-win. You're finding the right price for the right tenant, because as a landlord, to me, I'm willing to take even just a tiny bit under what maybe would be market, or just market instead of over market, for a tenant who has like everything perfect. Less people, couple more pets. That sounds great. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I would trade people for pets any day.
For sure.
I shouldn't say that out loud, but yeah.
I mean, the pets don't take showers as much, and they don't cook. They're just there. And people are weirdly scared of like animals. I don't, why do people say dogs and no cats? They think like because they've, watched one Hoarders episode with cats peeing everywhere. It's like, that's not how regular pet caretakers look. People love their pets for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. But if you're not doing proactive inspections during that lease, you actually may get yourself in a lot of trouble with pets. This wasn't me, but a peer, she actually ended up in a pretty terrible situation where her resident was like breeding dogs. Yeah. And it got pretty messy, and actually wound up in a lawsuit. So that's
Did you have to check on it?
Yeah. So you have to check on it. But you can check. If someone has pets, we'll usually go in a little bit sooner than we would otherwise. And then, you get a very good idea of how this pet is cared for.
So that book, the title, Rentals Made Easy, you also have a mastermind, right? So tell us about that, because it probably all kind of goes well together.
Yes, it does. So Rentals Made Easy Mastermind is the hands-on version of this DIY version.
Yeah.
So this, you can learn the method here, but if you want my support and our coaches' support actually implementing it, then that would be the mastermind. It is, in the scheme of all the real estate investing or education that I have done, it is an incredible value for super affordable price. I want real estate to be as accessible to everyone, because I mean, my first mentor was unpaid. And if he had said, hey, this is going to cost you, I may not have done it. And so
and later, of course he would have. But yeah, in the beginning, sometimes even a little sounds like a lot.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's priced in a way that is really, really achievable if you are trying to get into real estate.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, I think, part of what I like about podcasts is it's an introduction. Like we were saying before, books, podcasts, then meetups. But then you go from meetups to masterminds. You either create them yourselves or you figure out, hey, I'm ready to spend some money, and as you were saying, there's a lot of things that cost a lot of money out there. I can't tell everybody what's worth it or not. Sometimes usually the content is good in everything because they're just taking it from somewhere else. But I've found that masterminds rely most importantly on the other people in the masterminds as well as the content. The contacts that you can make in a mastermind can change your entire life, even more than the content. But the content is what brings the people together who are like, hey, wait, we only live 3 houses away. Let's meet up at a coffee shop. And now they're doing JV deals together. Have you seen that happen inside your community? Because that's really the magic.